Are we streaming? Are we officially here? Like on time / early? It depends on when the live stream actually picks us up and says, yeah, we're here.
I think I see.
We can see ourselves. So we are officially here. Yay! Yep. I love that.
Imagine that.
I know. Look at us being on time.
Yeah.
I know. I was.
What a concept.
I was lecturing somebody named John Brownstone about how we shouldn't be late to our own thing because that's rude. But we're not. We're not. We're here. We are here. If you're watching live, welcome. If you're watching later,
hello,
welcome. We love you all. So this week's topic has both a ranty lecture-y side and also a fun side where I'm like, yeah, you should do this because look what I did and it was cool. So, but I'm probably going to put on my top energy tone to let you know that this topic is about how you got to participate. You have to show up in your DS relationship if it's ever going to work.
I'm just going to sit back and put my feet up for this.
Stop. You'll have thoughts. Well, and the cool thing is, this topic comes from multiple angles. Wasn't sure, other than I knew I wanted to talk about it, wasn't quite sure where I would go with it. And then, as usually happens when we know a topic about at least 24 hours in advance. We've known it longer than that, but that's about how long. My brain starts like spinning and I get all kinds of thoughts. And then what ends up happening is I can't possibly fit all of those thoughts even into our super long episode. But that just means I have something to talk about later. So that when I repeat myself in 50 episodes from now, there will be new stuff in that repeat as well. You know I'm a classic repeater.
Yeah.
You tell the same stories over and over again. I repeat the same concepts over and over again.
I'm a storyteller, yes.
You tell you are that guy. I'm like, yes, I've heard that story. Multiple times. Yes, I know that story. And I just say the same stuff over and over again. I tell some of the same stories over and over again.
Yeah.
If they illustrate my point, but you forget you've told me a story. There's a difference. There's a difference. Okay, so let's get into the episode, and I only have one announcement this week.
Wow.
I know. And that one announcement is that it's a little plug for Patreon, so some people are going to be like, oh, God, I wish they'd showed up. I don't care. On the third Saturday of every month, in Patreon, we do a patrons-only live stream. It's basically an Ask Us Anything. Ask us anything about kink. Ask us anything about us. Ask us whatever. And if you are a patron at any level, $1 up, you get to watch that. That is happening this week.
This Saturday,
right,
April 20th, 2019.
We're recording on the 18th, so it's happening April 20th. And then if you can't go live and you're a patron, you can watch it later. Last month we did it from London, and I was practically laying on the bed.
Yeah, we both were.
You could only see like my double chin. It was not pretty, but we got it done. And we now have enough actual volume number of people that it's like, no, we really do need to say this on the podcast because that way they'll hear it hopefully. so we're doing that. That's my only announcement though. So we can actually move in to the topic. So I'm gonna talk about this topic of participation from the two angles that it came to my mind. Okay. So the first one was actually sort of a long-running conversation that I was having with somebody that we know who also listens to the show, blah, blah, blah. And basically, they had lots of questions, but one of the questions ended up being, well, how do I get my partner to do? How do I get my partner? How do I make my partner? And I was like, you don't make a partner do anything.
No.
And that's not even within context of a power exchange. It was, you're trying to maybe build a healthy relationship or grow the relationship or try something new. Or maybe you just want them to talk to you and open up and communicate with you. And if the thought you're having is, well, how do I get them to do that? You don't.
Yeah, you can. I mean, it's the old adage, you can lead a horse to water.
Right.
But you can't make it drink.
Exactly. So that's part of where this thought of participation has come from that angle of I want a thing or I need a thing within the relationship, but my partner isn't automatically just coming along for the ride. They're not enthusiastic. We're not meshing on some level, and why not? And that's only one aspect of it.
Right, because there is a big difference between consensually forcing someone to do something that has
Right.
technically been pre-agreed upon.
Right.
Okay, because you could have it as part of your dynamic, say as in a brat,
Sure.
kind of relationship. Let's face it, brats can be fun, they can be difficult, but it would be part of your dynamic that it is pre-negotiated that if you basically force them to do
Right, you make them do something.
Right.
And there are power exchanges where you negotiate that kind of thing and then you sort of
Yes.
sit back and let it happen. And that's not the participation I'm talking about.
No.
I'm talking about the participation of we're trying to build a thing between us that's mutually beneficial. And this is long-term loving. This is we're occasional play partners who come together whenever, however. This is whatever kind of relationship. When you are doing something with another person, you are forming some sort of relationship. I don't care how casual or short-term. It is a relationship with another human being. And if both parties aren't participating in ways that are right for them, somebody, if not both somebodies, are going to be very disappointed with the outcome. So you have to participate. And we've talked about this in a lot of different ways because every episode we've ever done on communication is about mutual participation, because there is no communication if the other person's not willing to talk or the other person's not willing to listen.
Correct.
There is no participation if you think you've agreed to something, you've negotiated your power exchange or your scene, and then the other person ignores something or quote, air quote, forgets something, and then you're left upset and maybe feeling betrayed or whatever. So we have talked about this many times before. We've never focused on the participation aspect. So hopefully I can follow my notes and keep up, because there is so much. Now I do want to touch on the not so heavy side of this, because it's not all about we both have to participate or we're both going to be miserable. There is that. There is totally that. I have lots of thoughts about that. But the other reason I thought this was a good topic this week was because of our play scene at the daytime play party on Monday. We had, I'm not going to say we've never played like that, but it is not a way we typically play.
No, it's not. And I think what made it brought it more to the forefront was that this time more than any, it was more evident in the play.
Oh gosh,
in the
so
scene.
Let's give you some details here.
Let's give them the nitty gritty.
Typically, my favorite way to play publicly is I get strapped to a cross, or I'm laying over a spanking bench, or I'm wherever I am, and I am an eager and willing participant in the moment, or I wouldn't be there. But
one would hope.
Right. I can speak for myself on that. That is very true. I would not be there if I was not an eager and willing participant. But I am, in most cases, I want to surrender to the thing that's happening. I know it's going to be impact play. That's how we play. I know it's going to be full of sensations. That's how we play. I have an expectation of what will basically happen because we have played together multiple times. We've negotiated. You know my boundaries.
Right.
You know what I will do, what I won't do. By the time we get there and I'm naked or nearly naked, I want to surrender to the moment. And I'm here to allow you to sort of use my body and my emotions and the sounds I make and every part of me in a way that you want to. You are the dominant, you are the sadist. I am getting what I need, but I am not beyond a very passive level participation, meaning I'm there because I want to be there. I've previously consented. We've previously discussed limits, and you check in and I have to give a response. Like that's all a certain level of participation.
Yes.
Beyond those, to me, bare minimum levels of participation, I'm usually just sort of letting things happen. For the most part, I'm like, I'll let you know by giving the proper color, how I feel about a thing. You can tell through body language how I'm responding to something.
Yes.
But that's about it. Well, this last time, it's the second time in a row now that it's not been, quote, exactly how I like the setting to be. And I have a very specific way I like the setting of a kink scene to go. I like the lights to be dim for sure.
Right.
We did get that this time. And I like the music to be sort of throbbing and pulsing. We've talked about that in the past. We did not get that. We got light jazz. We got light jazz because the person who got there first preferred that, and because she was the first one to start doing her thing, they asked her, and that's what they wanted.
Right.
That's the nature of it. It will not always be every element that is perfect for you.
It was like a light jazz, almost to me. Some of it was like a little bit new age.
Sure, yeah, totally, totally not my jam. I needed somebody screaming at me over some bass. That's what I needed.
And what it came down to, she was doing a suspension scene with somebody, and
same person from last month.
Same person from the month before, yeah,
a few weeks ago.
And they were just getting very zen into their rope work. Yeah.
So, and that's fine. That is the nature of it. You cannot always control every element of it. When it's public play, sometimes you can control no element of it. And I don't have a problem with that. But it did mean that any expectation I had of what was going to happen kind of flew out the window. Beyond like those basic participation levels.
Yeah.
And so a funny thing happened. I got, and I don't know why.
Funny thing happened on the way to the flogging.
Right. I don't know kind of what got into me. I don't know where this came from, but I got very playful and very baby girl.
Yes.
The place I am usually the least giggly and baby girl-esque is the club. I'm always my baby girl self, and I might whisper and hee, but I'm not usually openly like, I'm a baby girl. I am never that obnoxious baby girl who runs around being baby girl up in other people's space. I'm never like that. But that's because that's a vulnerability thing for me. We've talked about that in the past. It's usually kind of quiet. Not this time at all. You would not say that I was sassy. I know I was sassy, but I mean, in true terms, even though you were teasing me, I was never truly willfully bratty, right?
No.
Okay, so I just want, before I classified myself as sassy.
Well, no, I can't know. There was one point. Remember, I showed you the slapstick and what it said on it?
I know. That's what I meant. That's because it was that teasing. Because I would not classify anything I did as willfully bratty. Okay, not willful brattiness. But there was a lot more back and forth.
Yes.
There was a lot more laughing. And then this is not just set up. This was, I am strapped to the St. Andrew's cross and we are going back and forth. You started with one thing and I'm like, oh, ow, ow. And there's some dancing on my toes. Then you start hitting me with something I really like. And I just stuck my ass straight out and wiggled it. Typically, I try to, even if it doesn't always happen, I try to sort of zone out a little bit and get very zen-like so I can maybe float along in a little bit of light subspace. I purposely did not actively even attempt to do it. We were talking and laughing and joking and kissing and being very playful back and forth. And when we were done in our sort of post-mortem that we do, usually on like the aftercare couch in the back, I said, this was one of, in at least recent memory, times when we were less dom sub sadist masochist and way more daddy baby girl,
absolutely.
And it was fun.
It was
really fun. Is it how I would necessarily want to play every time? No, because I have different needs and have different sides of myself that sort of need attention and need focus, and so do you.
I think what made it so much fun at this point was because we have not really played to that depth in that type of headspace. Maybe a little bit of stuff at home, but not I mean, we delve there a little bit at home when we play, at night before bed when we go through our nighttime routine.
We get silly and goofy
and we do get silly and goofy, but never so much in public like that. And it was actually a lot of fun. Now, because you did not go into that headspace that you do, your pain tolerance was much lower.
Yeah. Oh, yes. But on at least one paddle, you could have kept going for an hour, and I'd have been like,
well, that was your favorite paddle.
It's my favorite paddle. It feels so good. It's the paddle from Lodbrock. Just dropping the name there, Lodbrock paddle.
And the same thing with the big flogger.
Yes.
I was basically just massaging you for a while
God,
there.
that feels so fucking good. That feels so good.
See? But yeah, the interplay between us, where a lot of times, most of the time, I let my sadist out, and I'm grabbing your hair and
you're mean to me, and I love it.
Yeah, I'm calling you names and
yeah.
That was not evident this time. It was much more lighthearted, much more fun.
And what I liked about it, and I noticed in retrospect, was once we started playing like that,
right?
It didn't matter that the music was off or that I could hear the rope suspension going on next to us like we did last time.
Yeah.
And there were a lot more people this time.
Yes.
And they stopped after a few minutes. They stopped mattering to me too. I was like, I'm aware of them, but it doesn't matter. Because at this point, I was actively engaged in this moment in a way that I'm not usually. Like I don't want to say that I somehow check out any other time. I don't, but I do try to have an experience that is more about the how I feel and the way my body is being used, and is more of a passive participation. I'm the blank slate for you to do with as you see fit.
You're basically there to receive whatever is given to you.
Right, because I know, and I can do that because we've developed the rapport and the trust and the relationship, that I know that no matter what you do, one, if I don't like it, and I seriously don't like it, it'll stop.
Yeah.
And two, most of what you're going to do, I'm going to like. And so I don't have to actively participate. But this was fun. And it was a different side of what I've been thinking about with active participation. And it goes to different ways of playing. It also goes to, because y'all know me, I'm going to speak to the submissive side of things. As a submissive, sometimes the way you get what you want, all the times you get what you want in life, is you got to speak up. You've got to say something. Right. And it is very easy in an established DS relationship where you're comfortable with one another to, one, forget that, and two, even then still get a little uncomfortable making it clear that you might be interested in something else. Not because, I know from my personal experience, it's not because I think you'll reject me. We're so far past that. I can throw out any wild idea. And even if you're like, whoa, your kink's not my kink, but your kink's okay, dude. Like, even if you're like, oh, you're going to have to leave that over there. I know I'm safe to tell you. And not everybody's at that point in their relationship yet. I get that. But there is that part of my submissive self that will say, oh, well, if I suggest something else, does that mean I'm saying that I don't like everything else we're doing? And I know I'm not the only submissive out there who will have that thought. So this is the other side of active participation, where sometimes you need to say the thing you want, even if it's completely different than what you've been doing all along. And sometimes, depending on your rapport and what's happening in that moment, that was very organic. I did not know where my headspace was until we started.
Well, even for me, I noticed it after when we were on the couch, and I had a moment to think about it. Being so different from the way we played, I could have tried to fight what was happening. All right. And, I could have made the, I need a word. I could have made the decision to try and make it what I wanted it to be.
Right. What your previous expectation been walking in the door.
And I didn't do that.
I know. Thank you. I don't know what would have happened.
I went with what was happening and allowed it to be.
Was it because it felt right in the moment, or because we've now got enough experience that we can kind of trust each other's reactions? That if we kind of just go with what the other's doing, unless it really bothers us, unless it hits a limit, that we're going to end up in a good place, even if it's... Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Saying the words correctly.
And I think that is a good part of it, but I know I can honestly say for myself, it felt right.
Yeah, and that does make a big difference.
It just felt right, and I went with it.
And see, and that's so. Apparently, there are a lot of layers to participation that I had not previously thought about. And I do think for some people, the idea of participating is going to feel very forced. Sometimes it doesn't have to. In that case, if you had walked into that club and I walked in with a preconceived notion of what would happen, not because I had planned it. I don't plan anything when it comes to this other than to go, I think I would like this today, Daddy.
Yeah.
That's my planning. But my previous experience is my preconceived notion. Everything we've ever done in the past informs what I think will happen in the future. So, it is very easy to get to a comfort level where that's what you expect and you know that you'll like it or that you'll tolerate it or that it'll be good.
Yeah.
And so it's easy to want to fight when something isn't going according to the often mental plan we have in our head, if it feels different. So that is a good point. If it feels right, if it's not hitting a limit, maybe it feels uncomfortable because you're not used to it. Maybe it's throwing you off a little bit because it wasn't what you expected. But if it feels right, and this is a person you feel like you can trust, you've established that rapport and that relationship with. Well, sometimes that's participating too, going along with what's happening.
Well,
in the moment.
we are and always have been very conscious of the vibe of what's going on in the club around us.
Right. Oh, we absolutely feed off of that too.
We feed off of that. And yes, in the past, our old club, because of the atmosphere of that club and the fact that anytime we played, we got to choose our entire playlist.
They were asking, what would you like to listen to?
So that set the mood for that moment.
Right. And it was a mood we liked,
right.
And we never really had a reason to change it up. I think if we had ever consciously gone, I want to do something different, we could have and we would have. This was circumstances beyond our control, and we went in a different direction.
But even where we were Monday, a Friday or Saturday play party.
Oh, an evening play party would have been completely different.
Completely different. Right. There you at that point then you have a lot more driving beat music, louder music.
Right, but
you have people bustling about, and
we're going down a rabbit hole of play parties at this point. This is just one example of participation in a way that you wouldn't automatically think of. So I guess to talk about it on this side, if you don't relate to the part where I'll probably lecture a few people and go on a couple of rants, y'all know me, and your relationship's pretty good, and you're like, oh, my partner's participating, I would challenge you to say, are you participating in all the ways that you can? Not in a negative sense, but what are you not exploring because it's easier to just keep doing the thing you've been doing? What if ever, have you not rejected your partner over, but kind of gone, oh, is that what you want to do? I would rather, and then fill in the blank with the thing that you're most comfortable doing. It's not a bad thing to do what you're most comfortable with. It's not a bad thing to have a few things sort of that you just always do. They're your standard playlist. But it is a new experience to actively engage in a new way. Old form of play, impact play. Absolutely. Right. Same thing we always do, but done in a different way. And that kind of participation was really engagement. We were in each other's spaces and we were in each other's thoughts, and the energy was a different kind of energy exchange. And you would say something, I would respond. I would do something, you would respond to that. It was that kind of give and take
because
level of
it wasn't just the communication per se of me paddling you or flogging you or caning you. There was also the verbal communication that we had going on at the same time.
Typically, you're doing your activity, you are hitting me, you're flogging me, or whatever, and you'll stop and check in, depending on how I'm reacting. And typically what I'm doing is taking it. And I might be reacting, I might be making noises, I might be moving, but I am accepting what is happening, and it's all my back to you. We're not even making eye contact. This time you were literally, I'm trying to make sure you can hear me on the mic, literally against my body. We were kissing. You were holding my hair. Oh, that's so sweet. I love it when that happens. And like hitting me with something. It was a different way to play.
There was another point. I was massaging your back with one hand while I was flogging your ass.
And I was like talking to you. I mean, that's the other thing I would tell people is you've got to sometimes you have to rethink how you think of these things. So in my mind, I'm a very quiet submissive, other than screams of pleasure or pain in a scene. Like I am a lot more passive in a scene, I don't talk. Unless I'm asked a question, I wait to be asked questions. Part of that is how I tend to submit.
Right.
Especially if I'm in a very submissive role, very masochist role, not a baby girl. A baby girl can't shut the hell up. I don't know if y'all have noticed. But my masochist self and my very, very submissive self, yeah, get kind of quiet. I wait. And this was a very active role. So I would just say on that side of participation, because I do want to get to the, but what if my relationship's in trouble? This conversation. On that side, just rethink how you play, especially if you've had an idea in the past, but you didn't say anything that's dom or sub about, hey, maybe we could try this. Or depending on the level of trust and the energy you have with your partner and how y'all typically play, if there's a massive comfort level, sometimes, as long as you know you're within your partner's boundaries, do something that feels right and then watch them respond. If their response is bad, please stop. And do not do something that feels right that you know is outside of their limits and their boundaries. That's not cool. But when you know it's a safe thing to do because they have previously indicated it should be okay, and if you're not sure, check in. Always check in. Always check in. But go with that feeling and see where it takes you. And submissives, if you have gotten it in your head that there are things you are, quote, supposed to do as a submissive, not things you've negotiated, not things that you and your dominant have agreed to, not things that fulfill you, not things that fulfill your dominant, but things that porn or erotica or what somebody else does in their DS is what you, quote, think you're supposed to do as a submissive. Try to move past that. Try something that feels right to you. Speak. Like me talking. Like that felt really strange. It's not something I usually do. Every once in a while, but not at the level we did at this time.
No.
And that kind of active participation and engagement with your partner in an already decent relationship, a strong, healthy relationship, it made the whole experience better. It just made it better. And I think that's the way to loop back around to the lecture-y side of things. Because guess what? Participation from two people or more who want to be there makes everything better. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
So I want to talk first about, I have so many thoughts. I don't even know where to start. So this is not even in my notes, but this is what came to me just now. Because I think most of us in our lives, if you've had multiple relationships in your lives, you've had this one, at least once, this relationship where you did all the heavy lifting and you made it so easy for your partner to participate on some level and they still didn't. Like, you did all the prep work for a thing. You did all the research for a thing. You did all of the emotional labor for a thing. Whatever it was, it doesn't even have to be kinky. Anything in your life. And then brought it to your partner and said, all you have to do is say yes or no. All you have to do is go to the event. All you have to do is do this teeny tiny little action. I have done all of the work back here and I'm exhausted. This one thing. And they still didn't do it. And if you hadn't been in that kind of relationship, lucky you, or you were the one who wasn't participating is what I'm here to tell you. Okay. I did a 12-year relationship, where I did all the heavy lifting and I got everything ready. I made it so easy for that partner.
Right.
And I still couldn't get participation.
At that point, you make it too easy.
You make it too easy. Exactly. Yeah. And I get it from my perspective. I understood why I did it. I thought that's what I had to do. I thought all of the reasons I was given for why somebody couldn't participate, they made sense. They were valid. Well, that person's tired. They're doing a lot of work. They're very stressed out. They're laundry list of reasons. Of course, I was over here negating how exhausted I was and how stressed I was and how much work I had to do because I wanted this relationship to work. And I thought that if I just did enough, if I was enough, that person would come along with me.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can do all of that and they're not participating with you. Yeah. And I'm not here to break up relationships, but I am here to say very plainly why. This isn't about somebody needing you because there are things they are physically or mentally or emotionally incapable of doing. That is not what we're talking about. We're talking about somebody who is capable and is choosing not to. Now, choosing not to participate makes them crappy in that relationship, does not always make them a crappy human being, okay? It could be that you are not compatible. It could be that you're in two completely different places in your life. It could be that what you let's get back to DS. What you thought DS was supposed to be and what they thought DS was supposed to be were on
two different things.
Two different places. This does not automatically mean this is like the worst person you've ever come across. Sometimes it does make you feel that way, especially when you spend 12 years doing all of the heavy lifting. Whatever. I'm not mad or bitter. And I have 2 beautiful children as a result. But it does mean that sometimes they're just not the right person for you. And that is really hard because sometimes you really, really love them. Sometimes you love them with your whole heart and you desperately want to make this work. Except you're doing all of the work and they're doing none of the work and you're still unhappy. And what? Why? So that's the thought that just hit me. It wasn't even in my notes because I actually had some like DS related things in my notes. So let me get back to the DS now that I've like probably made somebody out there cry.
Let's
Sorry.
bring it back around, girl.
Or gotten somebody dumped. I don't know. Whatever. You should have participated. Anyway. I have thoughts. So let's talk about participation in a DS capacity. So as we said at the top of this, you can negotiate a DS relationship where maybe the submissive is extremely micromanaged and doesn't do a single thing that their dominant partner does not tell them to do. Right. It's a passive thing. From the outside looking in, it looks very passive. You wait to be told or you ask permission for everything. In order to get to that kind of relationship, you have to actively negotiate that. You have to be an active participant in making that work.
That takes a lot of communication to get to that level.
A lot of trust, and I cannot imagine it. But here's the thing. In general, beyond that extreme example of massive micromanagement, subs don't just do what they're told. It's not as simple as, well, I'm the submissive. I will sit here and I will wait. You can, and sometimes that will work. But I have found, after, at least in my relationship, that there are times if I just sat around and waited, John Brownstone, who has an entire life he's over here leading and that mostly involves me, but sometimes doesn't, might forget something. Might not be thinking about something that needs to get done when I'm thinking about it. And so if I'm passively waiting to be a participant in this relationship and I'm waiting to be told what to do, a lot of things might not happen. Like, we might get the setup for this podcast live stream to be done, but will the script be written if I waited for it to be told to do that? Would coffee get made? Would he have a shirt that he's supposed to be wearing if I did not actively participate and insert myself and go, do you want me to pick out the shirt for today? Yes, please.
Baby girl.
Exactly. Okay. So even when you have that kind of power exchange, a sub cannot just sit back and go, well, I don't have to do anything until I'm told to do it, unless you've negotiated that. And even then, my sense of things, I'm sure there are exceptions to this out there somewhere, is that a lot of stuff won't get done if that's what you do, because you're going to be aware of things that maybe your partner's not aware of. So that's the S side of the participation. You can't just sit back and wait. You do have to, in the way that works for your dynamic, engage in the conversation and in the relationship.
But the same thing can be said of the big D side.
Oh, good. Were you reading my notes?
No.
Oh.
No. Because even though it kind of goes back to the conversation we were having in the car on the way down, and I forget the minutia of the conversation at this point.
Yeah.
But you were being sassy. I remember that much, of course.
Everybody is shocked by that. Nobody would believe that.
Nobody. Yeah.
Never.
Right. And I said to you, you better be careful or I'll get a sub who will do everything I desire.
And I laughed. I think I laughed.
Yeah,
I laughed
did.
Hysterically.
Yeah.
Hysterical. Yes. Yeah. Also,
And
probably because I cut a bitch, but... Sorry.
And the first thing that you actually said after you stopped laughing was that I would get bored.
You would get bored.
And I would.
You would get bored.
Because I enjoy that push and pull.
Right. For our dynamic, because that does work on our dynamic.
The way our dynamic is, I like that push and pull.
Right.
All right. And yes, to have someone just do everything for me every minute of the day, no, I would not.
And some people do like that. That's the other side of my notes for the big Ds. You you can negotiate the dynamic where you have a laundry list of things and expectations and sit back and wait for those to happen. Two things though. One, like the submissive who's being micromanaged, you don't get there. You don't get to that level without a lot of active participation, a lot of communication, a lot of negotiation, a lot of checking in, a lot of trust building. Like every skill we've ever talked about, you're not getting to that point unless you've done all that work first. But even when you're in the middle of it, and you've somehow magically found the submissive who's like, please give me this massive list of 100 things I have to keep up with every single day to make your life great, and they're willing to do it, there still has to be feedback. There still has to be an active engagement in, oh, what about this? How do we adjust for that? How do we, real life's gonna bite you in the ass at some point. We do not all get to live our DS porn fantasy. I haven't met anybody yet who's gotten to live the fantasy. Can you make your life appear to others from the outside that looks like a fantasy because you're having lots of sex or you're doing lots of kinky things, or you're a dominant who's got a submissive who does XYZ for you, or you're a submissive who gets to do blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but that fantasy we all start with of what we think it is, based mostly on porn / erotica / somebody else's lived experience. None of us get that. Life won't let that happen.
And there are some that come close when you have some master-slave relationship.
And even then, the real life is going to
But even then,
intercede.
Absolutely.
So if you are that dominant who just says, well, my sub knows what to do, I'm going to sit here and wait for it all to happen, I am not impressed, quite frankly, because are you giving feedback? Are you letting them know when they're doing a good job? Are you adjusting for things? Are you looking at life and going, oh, crap, yeah, they have this laundry list of 100 things, but they also have a cold. Maybe what they should be doing is resting. And I might have to be the one that says to them, you need to sit down and rest. That is participation.
Yeah, because as the big D, you have to be actively involved. You have to be giving that feedback. You have to be giving that praise. You have to be giving the correction when it's needed. You have to be there in the moment. And does it get tiring sometimes? Yes. Just like life does, it gets tiring.
And sometimes it just gets difficult because of life. Right. Life just makes it difficult to do that.
But you know what? You don't engage in that active participation. Oh dear, excuse me.
I shouldn't have fed him lunch today.
Yeah. But you don't engage in that active participation, things are going to break down
quickly, very quickly. So I think there's some realities here, because I love my submissive friends, and I can always hear when some of them go into a panic when I go on a rant, because we people, this isn't a submissive thing, this is a person thing, we extrapolate information. You hear me say they're not participating, my relationship is doomed. Okay, so let's back up a little bit. There are a lot of levels to what it means to be actively engaged in your relationship, to be actively participating in your relationship. And the reality is that sometimes your level of engagement will be a little unbalanced. Or your level of engagement will mutually dip. How many episodes have we done about when vanilla life gets in the way?
Right.
How many times has John Brownstone looked at me from across the living room while I'm in my little cubbyhole corner, just typing away? There's like...
fingers flying.
Yeah, sparks coming off tips of my fingers. I'm typing so fast. And he goes, I can't wait till I have my submissive baby girl back in my life. And I'm steady typing going, me too. Like sometimes you both want it and one or both of you cannot give as much as you want. There are health reasons, work, caregiving, God knows parenting. There have been many, many a night. Well, I would love to be a submissive baby girl, but I got to put my bitch mom hat on and lay down some law. And guess what does not make me feel all cute, sweet, and cuddly after that? So
I clear the room.
Yes, it's better for everybody. So those things are going to happen. Now, how do you deal with them? The same way you deal with everything that ever happens in any relationship, DS or otherwise, ever. You communicate about it. Yeah. You got to talk about it. If one of you has dropped off, the level of engagement was, I am really enthusiastic, and then 2 days later, I'm barely there, and you don't know why, you have to talk about it. You got to ask, what is there something going on? Not in an accusatory, what the hell's wrong with you? That's not going to get you very far, okay? You've got to say, is there something going on? Are you busy with something? That is especially true long distance relationships and any relationship where you're not actively with the person nearly every day. If you are not able to see for yourself what's going on in their life because you don't live together, you don't live in the same town, you only see each other occasionally, whatever, you're gonna have to talk about it because you're not gonna know. And a lot of assumptions get made, usually based on our bad tapes, any trust issues that might be ongoing between you or from previous relationships, your own insecurities and things you're dealing with, usually bad tapes. Let me just say that again. You know, like if what you're doing is going, they were talking to me every day about this and now they haven't for 24 hours, and your immediate impulse is to go, life is awful, they hate my guts, and you haven't had a conversation about it yet, I'm gonna need you to take a breath, okay? And send that quick text message or that email or call them or whatever it is you do and have the conversation. Now, even in a relationship like ours where we live together, work together, we know what the other one's going through, you still have to have a conversation because it is very easy. I say this as the one who has sparks flying off her fingertips, and I'll go down a rabbit hole at work. I'm like, I like money. Money is good. Let us earn all the money, right?
Pays the bills, keeps the lights on.
And I just like money. So I'll forget everything. If allowed to, I will forget everything. And that includes, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be this happy, willing, submissive who doesn't mind doing these tasks and being an active participant in her DS dynamic. And so what sometimes has to happen is John Brownstone's got to go, I know you're working real hard and I know what's going on. Can we go get a cup of coffee? Can we do this thing? And he has learned over time, when he knows what's going on with me, he can't spring something on me and go, hey, in 10 minutes, can we go do a thing so I feel more my dominant self? It's like, can we plan for this? So you do have to talk to each other even when you know what's going on.
A good example of that was yesterday. The headspace you were in yesterday.
Trying to remember. Oh, I was in a bad headspace yesterday.
You were in a very bad headspace.
Yes. Mental health for the win.
It was one of those days where I could look at you and I could see in your eyes what was going on with you. And I knew at that point, when I saw that look, yesterday was not one of those days that I could go, baby girl, I need a coffee right now.
I probably would have cried.
Yeah.
I probably would have cried.
And instead, knowing what was going on, what did I do at one point? When you were up and about, I flagged you over, I opened my arms, I gave you a hug, and I said, baby girl, I just want you to know that I love you, and I know you work hard, and I appreciate all you do for our family.
Isn't he wonderful? I don't even remember. This is how bad the day was. I have apparently blanked yesterday out. But you know what else you also did? You also were like, ooh, would you like this little treat? Ooh, what can I do for you? So you took on daddy role more than dominant role.
True.
And in that nurturing way, which is, why we work. But that is part of it. It is, sometimes the other person would love to be engaged in this relationship, with this power exchange, and would love to be right there with you doing the thing, and something is preventing them. And sometimes there's no fixing it. Sometimes you have to survive that moment, whether it's a day or a week or a year. Sometimes that's all you can do, but the only way you do it is by talking. And sometimes you're talking directly about what's going on and how you can help them or how you can support them or what they need. And sometimes it's about, I have found, if something is preventing me, usually work, but it could be my mental health, it could be other things, preventing me from actively engaging. Sometimes what I want to talk about most has nothing to do with the problem. Like, you can't fix it. It is a thing we have to just suck it up and get through. So let's talk about other things. Let's talk about our dynamic in different ways. Not in a way that in those times when I can't participate at the level I want, what I don't need is more pressure. But what I can be reminded of the fun. I can be reminded of the playfulness. I can be reminded of the things that might require maybe my mind, but don't require my body, or just require me to listen and be there and make sure that my poor daddy Dom, who's feeling unloved and unsubmitted to, get some of my time. Because sometimes what we need from our partner who can't give us the participation we really want is we need their time and attention.
Yeah. And the same goes for me. I mean, I have been so tied up because of the fact the way things have been shifting over the past month since we came back from London. We are in full bore to get things done and get moved.
Oh my God, yes we are.
So while she's working, I have been doing a lot of packing.
You've been working, but you just did a different type of work.
I've been doing a different type of work. I made a solo trip up to Ocala.
To the storage unit.
To bring more stuff. I am so close to the end of the list for stuff that needs to be done around here. It is like such a bright light at the end of the tunnel to me.
And see, to me, that's a perfect example of participation that is not a tit for tat. So in DS, we think, oh, well, one person controls and the other submits. One person has power and the other one does not. One person does the thing, the other person accepts the thing done to them. And that is absolutely how that works a lot of the time. Yeah. And that is a type of active, engaged participation. But in this case, we're living a life that just happens to be 24/7 DS on top of it and threaded throughout. And participation means I have my responsibilities that I have to meet in order to be doing my part. And John Brownstone has his responsibilities that he has to meet. And we can try to help each other. Sometimes help is more like, I love you, thank you for all that you do. And then we run off in the other direction. And sometimes it's, I will stop what I'm doing and help you do a thing. Sometimes he will stop what he is doing and help me do a small thing. But we are kind of existing in two separate orbits. Yeah. But the goal, the outcome that we're trying to achieve is the same. We are trying to get to the same place, but we're in our own lane side by side, and sometimes at different speeds. Like sometimes I'm stuck on a multi-hour long project doing one thing that takes me 4 or 5 hours, and he's done 20 things. Now, would anybody say that I somehow participated less in our life because I did one thing for 4 hours and he did 10 things in 4 hours? Of course not, because that's not how this necessarily works. It's not always a perfect give this, take that, and ooh, now we're evenly matched and we're sometimes it's imbalanced that way too. But
even in that, for me, there are times with those things going on, my big D-ness slips.
Yes, this is true.
Right? I mean, it was funny as hell the other night. She was sitting here on the couch, and she called me out on it, and it was kind of funny afterwards.
Y'all were shocked. I would never call him out on anything. Yes, I would. Yes, I would every time because it's funny.
Yeah, you do. But I was wore out from the day, and I just looked at her with a hangdog look and a pout on my lip, and
I asked who the baby girl was,
and I was like, "Baby girl, I am so tired. I need to go to bed." And she was just like, "Who's the little around here?"
And then I went, please go to bed. I'm doing stuff over here. You go right on ahead. Have a good time. Go right on ahead. So hopefully our wild ramblings have made it clear that participation is a lot of different things. There's no one perfect way to participate. There's no one single way to participate. But both partners have to be actively engaged.
Right.
Now, because this started, the very first sort of prompting of this whole topic started with somebody asking me, how do I get my partner to, right? Mm-hmm. Let's talk about when it's not that your partner has some obvious reason that they're not participating. Work, school, kids, parents, like whatever might be getting in their way. Trying to pick up your entire house and life and move it 100 miles to the east, whatever. It's not that. Okay.
220.
No, that's round trip. That's 110.
Is it? Uh-huh. Okay.
I've done the math. Y'all know I have. Okay. Anyway, it's not that. But there's something, and you're bringing the best skills you've got to it. You're taking in all of the advice, not just ours, but all the resources. You're going back to that example I had of you're doing all of this labor to make it easy for them to participate, and you're still not getting the participation. What do you do? So I think part of that is you've got to, it all goes back to communication. It always does. But you've got to also think about what might be barriers to that. Sometimes it is bad tapes, and it's do they feel safe? Do they feel safe? Sub or dom. This is not about role or power exchange. This is about person and the person and our individual experiences and the lives we've led. Do they feel safe with you? Has it been enough time? Has there been enough communication? Have there been past problems that maybe you haven't quite gotten over in your own relationship? Or have they had past relationships and maybe there's a few similarities that are, and I do not use this word lightly, that are triggering them? Okay, people have to feel safe. They have to feel like this is an okay thing for me to do and I'm comfortable with it. Now, I do not believe that you have to be 100%, no doubt in your mind, everything's going to work out fine, comfortable. Sometimes in order to get things we want that we've never had before, we have to do things when we're a little bit scared to do them. But the elements of safety and trust and feeling comfortable have to be there. Meaning that we're mostly sure that you're not going to laugh your ass off at us if we're bad at it. We're mostly sure you're being honest with us. We're mostly sure that this is what we want and it's what we can get and we're capable of it. And we deserve it. Like, there are a lot of emotions that go into why people say, I am really excited to do this thing, and then don't actually work towards doing that thing. Okay. And when you are the partner who's really gung-ho and excited and ready to be that active participant, and the other person is stymied in some way, you're not getting anywhere until you, and they especially, deal with what that block is. Sometimes it goes back to it. You're incompatible. You're in two different places in your life and you're not going to get on the same page. They want something different than you want. They're at a different point in their life. They have energy that they can give that's not right for you. Like, there's all kinds of reasons. And sometimes it's they need more time. Sometimes they're terrified. Doms get scared too. So please do not think this is just a submissive thing.
Well, how often have you come to me and said, we need to have some time together? Talk about XYZ.
I always want to talk about XYZ with you.
Of course you do. And I'm like, well, yeah, I know we need to talk about it. Now is not a good time. Let's do it.
Right.
Tomorrow at this time.
And then on the flip side, how many times have you said, hey, baby girl, I need to talk to you? And my anxiety goes, oh my God, everything is awful.
I learned that one the hard way.
Right. So, because we've learned each other, I know, and I have trained myself to get comfortable saying, I know we're not going to talk about it in detail today, but I need Cliff's Notes version. I need to give me top level. Yes. What are we talking about? Because that's going to help my anxiety. And if I don't get it, I'm going to be a wreck until we've had the conversation. And now maybe we're in an argument because my anxiety is about that conversation, but I'm acting out over here. Maybe I'm unable to talk when it's time to talk because I've worked myself up. So people have reasons why they react the way they do. Okay. Yeah. We all have past experiences, good and bad. We all have things in our head that we're contending with. And if we don't, we are probably a narcissist and you should run, okay? Because we all have stuff. Like I said at the beginning, if you have no memory of ever doing the heavy lifting in a relationship when the other person sat back, and you've had relationships that didn't work out, it could have been you. Okay, so if you're sitting back going, "Oh, I don't even have a frame of reference for that," it might be time for you to do some heavy lifting and emotional labor on behalf of your relationship. Just saying, but because it happens, and sometimes there is an uneven distribution of participation. We talked about that earlier, but when somebody is not, and they say all the right words, they say, I want to have this relationship with you. I want to be in this power exchange with you. I want to do these things with you. But then they're not following through, and they're not engaging in the process, and they're starting really strong, and then a day or two later, they're falling off, and they're not able to follow through anymore. There are reasons for that. And those reasons can be really, really simple. Maybe it's just something going on that they haven't talked to you about yet. Sometimes they're really, really complex and there's a lot going on. There is no cure for it because you can't make anybody do anything they don't want to do.
Right.
I mean, you can, but when we're talking about something much more serious, and that is not the scope of this conversation. But in general, you don't just get somebody to do something. You don't just make them do something. They have to be willing on some level to participate. Right. And if it's going to be a healthy relationship, no matter how long it lasts, it's got to be because on some level they want to be there and they want to be doing those things, and they are not, then there is a reason. And communication might not be the cure, but it is always the starting point. It
can't hurt.
It's never, no. Open communication where you're actively trying to listen to the other person, not the kind of communication where you're really yelling at the other person about how awful they are and how they didn't do this thing for you and you don't understand why you're together and blah. That's not really communicating.
No,
I think we call that venting, yelling. But the communication of the back and forth of, this is what I'm seeing and this is how I'm feeling about it.
An exchange of ideas and feelings.
Right. And how are you feeling? And then you listen to the other person even when it's uncomfortable and even when it's difficult. And sometimes you can't solve it.
Yeah. But and I've said this before, communicating is more than just talking. It is someone also actively listening.
Right. If the other person is not taking in the information and actively listening to you, you're not communicating. You are talking to a brick wall. And we've talked about this before. We've done many, many episodes on communication. And this is something I have had to, and I still struggle with. Many of us listen to the other person speaking, and the whole time they're talking, we are formulating our response to what they're saying. So you know what we're not doing? We are not listening. Nope. We hear the words, and we are spending all of that emotional and mental energy going, you know what I'm going to say when they stop talking? Ask me how I know that's a valid thing. I do it all the time. To not do it, to undo that is a skill, and it takes time, and I'm still working on it.
Because not everything warrants a response. And let me clarify that. I think one of the biggest things, and this is something even I've had to learn because I have always tended to be a fixer.
Same.
Okay? Mm-hmm. If someone's talking about something, I would want to jump in and say, well, if you do this, this, and this, it goes away and all is good. And that is not always the proper response to something.
That will actually backfire a lot for a lot of people.
Yeah. I have found a lot of times when you do want that response, you will come to me and say, Daddy, I have a problem and I need your help with it.
Right. What do you think I should do?
What do you think I should do?
Right.
Other times, it's a matter of listening and acknowledging the other person's feelings.
Right. And
that is what is important, because many times in communication, when you're talking, the person is pouring out their feelings. Mm-hmm. And what is important is that they know that their feelings are valid.
Right. And that they're being heard. So
right.
I'm gonna go to a gender level here, and then I'm gonna tell you why I know for a fact that might be common, but that is not the only way. So the gender thing is that women talk about our feelings and men tell us how to fix it, and then we get mad at men, and there's that divide.
Yes.
Let me tell y'all, yes, that does happen. We know that happens. Stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason, but let me tell you, it is not just the guys. I too am a fixer. If you come to me, used to be, if you come to me and you say, this is what's going on, oh my God, I'm heartbroken, I'm right? My natural tendency would be to go, well, let me tell you what you should do. And I'll tell you 3 or 4 things. And back in the day, people would get really mad at me and they would get frustrated because guess what I was not doing? I was not listening. I was not taking in their emotions and then coming back and going, gosh, that has got to be so tough. Oh my gosh, that really sucks. And I had to learn before John Brownstone that before I give advice, and I'll tell you why that doesn't work now, but y'all will probably laugh because you'll understand. It's about validating your feelings.
Yeah.
Now we have learned with each other because I do it with you too. I'm like, well, you know what you should do. And you're just looking at me like, bitch, that is not what I was here for.
Right.
So if you are this type of person, do not think it is just men. Women do it too. People do it, y'all. Mm-hmm. Always start by validating feelings and showing that you heard them. But then ask. If your inclination is to go, I know exactly how you can solve this problem. Ask. Now, here's how you get around it if you are a fixer. You start giving advice on the internet and tell people they can ask you questions. They are actively asking for me to tell them what to do. Here's the problem. life experiences taught me that there's no one right answer for anything. And so my fixer self is still thwarted because I can't tell somebody, do this. Even though they are actively asking for me to tell them exactly what to do, I have to go, well, actually, here are about 85 cajillion options you could try. And so I'm still thwarted, but if the fixer nature in you is really, really difficult to like, you just need to get you a life or a job or a hobby where people come asking your opinion and you can just give it to them. That's how multiple podcasts and websites have been born. Because I'm a fixer. So yes, we talk about it usually in very gendered terms. It is not. And part of it, I know from my experience, is I want, and I don't know if it's anxiety. I don't know if it's my people pleaser self, which is part anxiety, part submissive self, part lots of other things. Because not all people pleasers are submissive, so I don't want to conflate the two. But I hate when somebody, especially somebody I really deeply care about, is going through something tough, and I just want to make it better. I just want to make it better. So I will tell them what I think they should do. But I'm not listening. We went down a way rabbit hole in communication here. But that's not listening. That's just, nor is that, I would say, you're going to convince yourself. I'll bring it around to the topic. Give me a second. You are going to convince yourself, fixers of the world out there, that telling somebody what they should do is you participating. No.
Nope.
Sometimes participating is sitting back, shutting the hell up, and letting them talk. And then when they're done and they were looking at you like, if you got something to say, I'm sorry. Sometimes there's no way to fix a thing.
Many times,
all you can say is, I am so sorry.
Many times by letting someone talk and getting those thoughts out of their head. And feel heard, they are actually able to see clearer and come to the conclusion of what needs to be done themselves.
And they may, if you've developed the trust, then ask you, what do you think? What would you do? What are your suggestions? And then you're in a whole, now you really are actively participating because they've asked you. And there we go. We can always bring it back around to the actual topic. That is part of participation too. It is not forcing your way through and going, here's what I think you should do. And that's not even if you're the dominant, y'all. It is sitting back sometimes and staying quiet and listening and letting the other person say what they need to say. Hopefully it stays healthy. Hopefully it stays maybe not positive, but like within the realm of what's good for the two of you in this conversation. And then waiting to be invited in to participate. Because you were participating by sitting there quietly and listening. You were participating by going, oh my God, that is awful. Oh my God, that sucks. And sometimes you say, what can I do? And the other person might go, there's nothing. But I needed this. Thank you. And you've done a job and you have participated. And sometimes they'll go, you know what I could really use? I could use a hug. I could use a spanking. I have done that. I could really use a spanking.
Yeah.
And then we're now participating on a completely different level. But letting that person have that space as part of your communication back and forth is absolutely necessary. And it is participating. And for the fixers of the world, it won't feel like it, but it is. And if you are a fixer who has found yourself in the wildest arguments you can imagine, because you're like, how the hell did we get here? I was trying to help. And if you're ever in that situation, we're going, but I was trying to help. Why are you mad at me? It's because you were not helping.
And it's tough to step back from that fixer role. It took me a while to get past that, and it took a lot of concerted effort.
Because it doesn't feel like participation. It feels like you're not doing anything.
Right.
And doing something, actively doing a thing, giving advice, stepping in and fixing it, quote, solving a problem, feels like something. And probably the biggest skill that a lot of people, especially fixers, have to learn is that listening is doing something.
Yep.
And I will let you know if you're on the other side of that and you're like, but all they ever do is listen to me. Y'all, they're doing something. That is participating. And if you find it weird that your partner is listening to you and you don't even know how to handle that, I'm going to make a wild guess that you've not had a lot of people in your life listen to you. And it is part of the ongoing education about what communication is and how it works for you. Because some of us struggle a lot with saying the words, like whatever it is, our needs, our fears, our concerns, when we're angry, like whatever it is, a lot of us struggle with that. But I think many of us also for sure, but also struggle with how to listen to somebody. And feel like we're doing something. You know? I think many of us know how to sit back and let somebody talk at us for sure. But to truly listen and let ourselves feel for them, let ourselves empathize with them, go, God, that sucks. Or, oh, that's really hard. Or, oh, I'm kind of worried for you. Or, oh, I want to make it better and I know I can't. And believe that thing that doesn't feel like anything to you really is part of, one, communication, but two, actively engaging and participating in your relationship. Now, what happens after you listen? What happens after the conversation? Because communication is important. I actually had somebody who emailed and said, I have this problem, blah, blah, blah. And I know you're going to say we have to communicate first, but we've done that. What next? And I was like, actually, in your case, more communication. But what next is sometimes it's you make a plan, right? Then what will we do next? And sometimes it's we'll come back to this. And sometimes it's, well, let's see what happens from here. And sometimes it is more communication, but now a different kind of communication.
Because communicating is not a one and done process. It's not
constant, ongoing.
It's a constant ongoing thing.
And if you allow it to, it can permeate every part of your life. So we have very clear times when we sit down and we talk and we plan those times, whether it's to plan something we're trying to do, or one of us has had something going on and we need to make that time for the other, or whatever it is. And then because of the nature, this was true when we were long distance, y'all. So do not tell me that distance is always going to prevent this, because it doesn't. There's way too many tools and too much technology out there otherwise. But communication is constant and ongoing. So for us, what that looks like is, even if we can't deal with an issue right now, if I'm having some sort of feeling, some sort of negative feeling, I'm going to try to find a way to communicate that. I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling stressed, I'm nervous, I'm scared, I'm sad. I'm going to say it. He might not be able to do a damn thing about it right then. He may never be able to do anything about it. It might just be a thing I have to kind of like work through, right? But I'm going to say it. And because we now have enough time together and we've built the trust, and because he's done his part of not only listening to me saying that and go, oh, I'm so sorry, and then following with, is there anything I can do? Not, here's what you should do. It's, what can I do?
Right.
Can I do anything? Do you need anything from me? And asking questions. We've done that long enough now that that's our sort of normal state. And then, because he is actively engaged in this relationship, he is actively participating in it, and he's actively listening, he's going to come back around to that when we get a quiet moment. Like I might, when we were long distance, I would send him a text, and now I might just say it when we're driving down the road together to go run an errand. I'm really stressed. And maybe we can't talk about it right then. It's not a good time. But I'm going to say that, and it's going to be in his mind, and he's not letting it go. Now he's watching me, and he's watching how I'm acting and my facial expression. He's much more aware because he knows there's something going on. And then later, when life is maybe quieted down for the day, not in general, but just for the day, right? Everybody's in bed, work is done, we're going to bed. Now he's going to check in with me. And I'm going to let him know, because now this is my part, actively participating. I don't really want to talk about it right now. Can we talk about it here? Or, oh my gosh, let me tell you. Or, yeah, I felt that way. I don't need more. And I'm going to say, here's why. Because I have a history of burying feelings. And so if I don't tell him that I felt that way and now I don't, and I don't like give some context, he's going to be like, are you burying feelings again? And we have just through an entire day of a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit here and a little bit there. By the end of the day, maybe the end of the week, whatever, we have talked about something that was important, whether it was important in that moment or it's a bigger, broader thing, without necessarily going, okay, we're going to sit down right now and talk about it. Because communication for us is constant and ongoing, and in some ways it never stops. There are also times, because you have to have boundaries and you have to have limits, where one of us has to say, I know this is important right now. I know this is important to you. I know we need to talk about it. I cannot right now, and here is why. It is never, I can't, and then we stop. That conversation's done. I'm going to give context. I'm going to give an answer, because again, this is about active engagement with one another. This is about a back and forth, a give and take. And he can't even know what he's supposed to think if I'm not giving information. And I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing if he's not giving information.
I don't give her the information to work with.
Now, the longer term you're together, you'll develop shorthand. You'll develop a facial expression. You'll be able to say like half of the sentence and the other person will know what you're talking about.
Cliff's Notes.
Cliff's Notes. Yes. But if we have, partly because we talk about this every freaking day with somebody. Like, this is just how we're living it and breathing it as much as we can. Yeah. So we think about it differently than you might be thinking about it. This is a skill to develop. We know that if it's really important, it's not Cliff's Notes. I'm going to make sure you know exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. But if it's something that happens frequently, when it's my mental health and it's anxiety, I'm like, I'm feeling anxious. And I don't have to say anything more yet. He now knows what that means. We've gone through it enough times together. So if you can, even if you've been together 20 years and you're if you don't have good communication skills, you're struggling even after 20 years. Not as much as the person who's known their partner for 20 minutes, but there can still be a struggle. These are skills that the only way they get better is you have to practice them over and over again, and you have to be willing to be really bad at them until you get really good at them.
It's like a muscle that you have to exercise.
Mm-hmm. And we have gone through periods where we didn't communicate very well, and that muscle will atrophy. We bounce back a lot quicker. If we go just a little bit of time without communicating well, one of us is going to go, what the fuck? And we're going to work it through. Mm-hmm. And we have had arguments where we're yelling at one another. I do not like those arguments. I really do not like those arguments, but we've had them. And then we've dealt with that. And so this is not kumbaya. We are always on the same page, staring into each other's eyes lovingly while we communicate all of our deepest feelings.
Oh, no, we have those ugly moments.
And sometimes we're snarking at one another from across the room. But even in our snarky moments, we're communicating some kind of information, and we will, because we hate that conflict between us.
Right.
Whether that day or within a couple of days, we're coming back around to it going, ooh, what was that moment there about?
Yeah.
And let's deal with it. Mm-hmm. So communication is about active participation. Active participation is about communication. And clearly we could talk about this all day, but we're not going to.
Absolutely. I think we've probably talked these poor people's ear off by this point.
I know. You have to really love us to still be here. And we have a bonus section, so there's that. Yeah, I mean, I truly could, I think, keep talking about it. Some people I know, because it's a thing you're dealing with, are probably like, please keep going. We'll have to come back to it because we're already over an hour. I am going to look at the comments from the YouTube live stream in case there's any questions. I have found, I love you all. I want to say hi to all of you. I always miss people. So we're going to try something new this time. I'm going to skip that part and I'm going to look for questions, because then the podcast audience gets something out of it too. So here we go. Let's see. Oh, Ileana got her tasks done and can be here. So hello.
Look who.
Oh, Go to Mish is here. Go to Mish is a company we love. They are, whether they're still here this very second or not, they are in the live chat saying hello. I said I wasn't going to say hello to anybody. I don't know. Go to Mish is one of the brands we really love. And if you need a dildo, I'm just saying, get you a Go to Mish dildo. No, they did not sponsor this. No. Let's see. Okay, I'm just looking for questions real quick, because sometimes we get some really good questions. And it looks like... no, I do not see any. And if I missed a question, we will answer it later, but I do not see any. But hello to everybody.
Hello to everybody that's here, yes.
Right. Everybody, we love you, we love you. If you're listening on the podcast, we love you too. You know that. We've been doing this podcast for 100 and how many episodes? We love everybody who listens and watches and doesn't leave mean YouTube comments. Anyway. Actually, that will be fodder forever, because it's always universal.
Kind of like that handle that you hate.
Fucking handle I hate. Loving DS and the number 1. Loving DS1. Follow us on Instagram. Okay, so we are going to go into the bonus section. We have mail.
Yeah.
We've got such cool mail. I'm so excited about this.
Yeah.
And so, we should probably do that. And I don't know how to click tabs on my laptop. Sorry. Like, clickety clackety. Where are we? I don't know. Are you going to remember how to do this part?
Are we good?
I don't know. I think I'm going to let other people decide.
All right. Well, we probably need to let them go then. All right.
Okay. Keep it kinky, y'all. We'll see you next week. Better than last time. Look at us. I do want to do quick shout out, Patreon shout out for Kalina J, Conduit of Queerness Itself, and oh my God, I just had performance anxiety over Lorana's name. Sorry, Lorana. I'm looking at your name. I had it typed out, but y'all, we talked about this in the last episode. I get very anxious over names. It really is like a legit anxiety. You know where it comes from? Perfectionist. So I don't like to be bad at anything in front of people, says the woman with a podcast and a blog who fucks it up all the time. The irony. My perfectionist side, there are certain things that I really, really am not good at being bad at stuff in front of people, and names are one of them. I had a big, long think about this after last time we talked about it. So we got mail. One piece of mail will be a product that it's one of the few times I've ever done this. We literally begged and said, can we please try this? We want to try this publicly and like let people know about it. And they sent it to us. So
I'm very excited about it.
We will be trying that very soon. Yeah. And then, so here's what's funny. This, I think, came before we recorded the last episode where we were talking about fan art. And if somebody like drew something or made something because we inspired it, we would be happy to see it or get a copy of it or whatever. And then in our mailbox already before this episode even went out was fan art. And it is fucking amazing. So, podcast listeners, if you follow us on Twitter or Instagram, I posted them on Wednesday, April 17th. So scroll back through the feed. You will find it is fucking amazing. YouTube watchers, we will hold it up to the camera. So we got a really sweet letter and the art from, I don't know if it's Anna or Anna. Y'all know who I am, and we adore. She is Aine, AINEZ, the letter Z, on FetLife. And I will try to remember to link to her FetLife in the show notes. I did not go to her FetLife before we recorded this, so I don't know if she's got other art there or not. But this is amazing. So I'm going to start with a letter, and then will you be the model as things get mentioned? Okay. So she says, Kayla and John, purple ink, by the way. Y'all know the key to my heart. I'm very bad with words. Give me a blank page and pen, and I will doodle instead of writing. So after procrastinating this for about a month or two, I came to the conclusion that there is no perfect writing, and you are not even expecting it to be perfect. You are damn straight about that. We are not. The whole point of this is to show you my appreciation. I think that what you do is admirable. You bare your soul to the whole world, and in doing so, you help many understand and accept who they might be. I'm gonna not cry. I'm totally not gonna cry. I admire the resilience that you've shown in hard times while staying true to yourself and not being afraid to show your vulnerability. It took me about 3 months to listen to all the available episodes in the podcast. I've learned so much about who I am and what I need, and for that I'm extremely grateful. While I listened, I did some painting on my iPad. And let's start with this one. Yep. The cricket was inspired by you, and I'm happy to say I'm a proud cricket. Yeah, we love our proud crickets. So for YouTube watchers, it's a painting of a cricket.
Of a cricket.
And the one that John Brownstone is holding up actually says,
Daddy, please, can I talk to the crickets?
And any longtime listeners know that is what I used to have to beg. The next one, the Millennium Falcon.
This is awesome.
Is part of 3 paintings that she's planning to make, and she'll send them to us once she's done. As soon as we get an office, these are all being framed.
Oh, yes.
And they're going up in the office. I will not say the next part because that is personal information. Let's see. She said, this is a thing that I have found to be true. And it is weird, you're right, but it's weird in an okay way. She says, it's so weird that I know so much about you and you have no idea who I am.
Yeah.
It is weird, but it is also, it's okay. It's fine. And says, I'm an introverted person and reaching out like this is hard. And you know what? I would feel the same way. I don't think the few times I've reached out to people who I admire online for the first time, oh my God, I sweated through my shirt. It is hard. I hope anybody who has thought about like sending us a letter or sending us an email or messaging us, that you just understand that who you are hearing right now is exactly who you are getting. And we don't always answer as quickly as we want. We can't always, it just happens. There's a lot more y'all than there are of us, but we do appreciate all your messages. So if you want to, and it's been difficult, just imagine my goofy voice in your head. That's who you're getting. Let's see. And she goes on to tell more about her personal life, which I'm definitely not reading because not anybody's business. But yeah, Anna, I'm going to go with, I'm just making the official declaration. If I have completely jacked up your name, please tell me. But again, AINE and the letter Z, AINEZ in FetLife, and like I said, we'll link. But we got 3 actually of the cricket. One is postcard size, and it says postcard size for the box, and I do have a box where all the postcards go, and that is now in storage. So I'll have to be very careful with the postcard size till I get back to the box. But it's freaking amazing art. We absolutely appreciate it.
It's beautiful.
Oh my gosh. If any of this is ever available digitally, I would say throw your money at her. Pay her. Is amazing. It's so freaking amazing. So that's a letter.
Yeah.
That's our mail. We did our Patreon shout outs.
Yeah.
The one thing nobody can see, whether you're podcast or YouTube, is that the boxes are gone.
The boxes are
They're all in
gone.
storage now. We have most of our house back.
Last Friday, we rented a U-Haul cargo van.
Yeah.
And
we've got a vlog coming out about that soon.
After we finished recording the podcast, we went and picked up that van and we loaded it. And we loaded it to the hilt. So much so that I was a little worried about how the drive up to Ocala was going to be.
I think you thought we were going to be the Beverly Hillbillies going down the highway, not the interstate. We were going the interstate.
Yeah.
On the highway, we were not. We were just in a van.
Well, I was worried that I literally had this thing packed from floor to ceiling.
Which was the point.
Yes.
My favorite, the backstop, and we did not get, we're going to do a vlog on that day because we just did, because I'm weird. Anyway, the last thing that went in and actually butted against the doors to the van was the pillory.
Yep. The pillory set.
And so what does John Brownstone tell me? We need to tell people if anybody sees it.
It's for the Ren Fair.
And I'm like, Ren Fair people know what they're talking about. They are going to figure us out quick. Now, what I love is kinky Twitter immediately points out that Ren Fair people, even if they're not kinky, they totally get kink, which makes sense. They got a lot of floggers. They got a lot of whips. There's lots of chains. I get it. But we were going to be in a more rural area. I've been raised in rural areas my whole life. The Tampa Bay area is the most metro area I've ever lived in my life. It is the first time I've been in a building and heard both liberals and conservatives talking about politics in the same room. That is how rural and conservative my life has been to this point. And so, in conservative areas, I'm not making the assumption that the Ren Fair people are also kinky. I'm making the assumption they're going to ask me a Ren Fair question. And I'm going to go, I don't know.
Well, they're going to at least know what the Ren Fair is about.
No, they would. We wouldn't. That is my fear.
Okay.
So now the pillory is now at the very back corner of the storage unit.
Yeah, you open up the back doors of the van, and there's a foot pillory and a head pillory.
And then now when you go into the storage unit, it doesn't even exist.
Right.
It's behind everything.
It's hidden.
Totally hidden.
Yeah.
Until we have to get it out. That is not a day family gets to help move anything.
But no, I was worried that going down the highway that the load would shift in the back of the van. That was my concern. And
it did okay.
It did fine. Nothing moved around back there. Nothing got jostled, and got it all up there. A good portion of the stuff is out of here. Excuse me.
Baby got a bubble?
I think so.
Right into the microphone too.
Yeah.
Damn. If we were professionals, we would.
I apologize about that, folks.
Fed him a good lunch today.
You did. It was really good. And then the following Monday, I made another solo trip up there. I loaded up my SUV.
Not Monday. We went to the play party on Monday.
That's right.
Tuesday.
Sorry, my days are all fuddled up.
No, I missed you while you were gone.
And that was a good trip. I left same time as you did that morning when you take the boys to school. And made very good time. Got everything unloaded.
Yeah, it went way faster without me there.
I
don't know the correlation, but...
And I even stopped to eat.
I know, at a place I haven't been to eat yet. I feel cheated.
Nope.
You're going to take me next time we go, right? We're going to go there.
Huh?
I'm going to get to eat there,
Huh?
right?
Huh?
Right?
Huh?
After we move there, you'll take me to eat
Huh?
there, right? It's a little diner place, y'all. It's not like it's like the best place ever. I wouldn't know, though. I haven't gotten to go.
Their omelet was damn good.
If you can fuck up an omelet, you should not even be allowed to be in business.
Oh,
I know. I said you should not be allowed to be in business.
But no, the food was good. It was a decent trip. I'll probably have to make 2 more trips.
And here's what's funny, y'all. We live in this relatively small condo. We don't have a lot of stuff. This is the next 2 trips. One, there is some stuff from under the bed that we just want to like make go away and be done with.
Yeah.
But it's his tools. It's his shop, y'all.
Yeah.
2 of these, at least 2 of these trips. Actually, no, 3, because the van had tools, as many as you could get in it.
Right.
The second trip, the one this week, was nothing but tools. And then for sure, the third trip, if possible, will be definitely more tools.
Yeah.
It's the tools, y'all. If it was just our stuff, it would be like our mutual stuff. 1 trip. The tools.
Yeah.
You might have a problem. Woodturners Anonymous.
Nah. I don't have a problem. I have no problem at all.
Okay. We'll have to agree to disagree here.
Says the woman who has how many websites?
Look, my digital collection takes up no physical space.
How many websites?
Wait.
And you talked to me about wanting to add another one today?
Who are you calling out on digital anything? How many MP3s do you have? How many? Rough estimate. How many?
About 40,000.
Right. How many ebooks do you have?
Untold.
Right. But I have a few websites. See, I'm the one that will, without even blinking, throw shit away. So I don't delete, though. I have emails going back a decade. Like, I got email for the first time. Woohoo! I've now kept that email. I don't delete emails. So okay, I'll cop to that. Yeah. I might be a digital reporter too.
And Ape on YouTube, he was like, ooh, tools. Like, so yeah, these
many fucking tools.
The tools I brought up there was my belt disc sander, my drill press, router table.
I don't know what any of this shit does. I just go, is it heavy? Can I carry it? Do you need help?
Bandsaw, scroll saw. Grinder.
You see, you can't even think of all of them at one time. And what do you still have left?
The lathe, compressor.
And the lathe is because you're getting it fixed.
Lathe is my lathe has a boo-boo.
Yes, but it's under warranty.
Yes.
So that is okay.
Yep. So that's being taken care of. The compressor, shop vac, the
shop vac should be the absolute last to go. Oh yeah, we'll be able to use that everywhere.
That will be using
the pressure washer.
Pressure washer.
I don't know how we ever collected all this.
And then various hand tools, all my cordless tools, drills.
You got boxes and boxes of that stuff.
Yeah.
Boxes, y'all. So yeah, and
no, you don't. Tommy Ravenwood, are you supposed to delete? No, you don't delete.
You just keep buying more space.
You get portable hard drives and archive it there.
Oh my God, y'all, digital hoarder over here. You want a good time for him on a weekend when he didn't have a lot going on? He'll just be transferring files, archiving stuff. I'm like, that sounds like hell. He's like, nope. I've got this hard drive filled up. I've got this new hard drive. We're putting new things on it. Not deleting shit. Nothing is getting deleted. It's just getting moved around.
Yeah, but when you say, Daddy, I need episode blah, blah, blah of our podcast. Okay, baby girl, I have it right here, archived on the external.
I would like to know what makes you think I wouldn't have that. Of course. I also have all of the video, including little clips, including clips of video that didn't make it into the main video. Anyway, I'm just saying your problem is bigger and worse than mine. That's all. Yep. I look better by comparison. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
So, yeah, right. That's about it. For whether you're a podcast watcher or no, you cannot watch on a podcast listener, Damn, I need another cup of coffee.
I got you all turned around now,
yeah, you
don't
did.
I?
Podcast listener or a video watcher, we finally got our vlog from London up. I don't know when, hopefully this week, but we are going to record our bonus pod about Eroticon because I want to shout some bloggers out by name. When we did the London vlog, it was more like, look at where we are. And we didn't talk about the event much at all. I think we did 1 or 2 little clips of the day because there was just so much going on. But if you're curious about our London trip, that is on the YouTube channel. I'll put it in the show note, the link to it in the show notes. And we are going to record a bonus pod. We will not live stream that. So if you are a YouTuber, I love you, but you're going to have to listen to the audio if you want that. We only have bandwidth for so much. But we will, that'll drop as like a bonus pod. And for YouTube subscribers, we have a community tab now. We're like big and important enough to get a community tab, and when that does go out, I'll link to it, so if you want to listen to it, you can. So that is still coming. And then this coming week, it'll be a very short little video of our day of going to the storage unit that we just were talking about. There's not a lot because it was sort of oh, look, here's us with coffee. Oh, look, here's us with a box. Oh, look, here's us with more coffee. I might not know. We still need to do the coffee vlog.
Yes.
I still need to do the coffee vlog.
Yep.
That will have to happen soon. But other than that, I really hope today's episode was beneficial for somebody. I did not realize how many thoughts I had on being actively engaged and participating in your DS relationship.
You were actively engaged in this.
What am I not? I mean, I'm exhausted all the time because I'm pretty much constantly actively engaged in everything. But hopefully it was useful for somebody, which is really all that we ever want. And all that really matters, mostly. Mm-hmm. Mostly. So, yeah. That's that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's that.
I think so.
I think that's plenty. We went on for over an hour and a half today.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a long time, I know.
Okay.
I know, but I gave you a break. We're not recording another video today.
That's true.
Because we got vlogs coming out and stuff. So, see?
Yep.
I am a kind and benevolent...
yes, Tommy Raymond, the key to moving is coffee. Actually, coffee is the key to everything.
Life. I know the answer, the meaning of life is 42, but really...
It should be coffee.
42 coffees.
40, yes! That's what they really meant, was 42 coffees!
42 coffees is the meaning of life. And I would amend that, because not everybody drinks coffee, 42 cups of some caffeinated beverage, quite frankly, because I'll take 21 Diet Cokes and 21 coffees and call that a day. I'd be very happy with that. Just saying. And if any coffee company would ever like to sponsor this channel, shout out. Okay. Yep. You gotta put shit into the universe if you want it to come back to you. A coffee sponsor, that coffee doesn't taste like swill, of course, and is not a shit company that's like being awful to its employees. They're like, they gotta be a good company and good coffee.
Like Death Wish.
I don't know. You still haven't drunk the Death Wish coffee I got you for Christmas.
I know.
But we're both afraid of it, I think.
I think there's a little hesitation there.
Was it Angel, a.k.a. Professor Sex? Shout out to her. We love her. Was it her who told you to be careful?
Yes.
Like it can make your heart race?
Yeah.
I was like, what did I buy him? And y'all, was it the Valhalla? I think it was called the Valhalla. I bought him by a company called Death Wish Coffee, Valhalla Coffee, for Christmas. And then our good friend Angel's like, be careful.
Mm-hmm.
What did I do? We still haven't tried it yet. I think we're both scared.
I think maybe this weekend.
Because blinking is for the week.
There could be weeping angels around.
It's Munch weekend too.
Yeah.
Because we're going to our local Munch, and then we're doing our Patreon thing.
And then we're doing the Patreon thing, yeah. Yep.
So much going on. Okay.
All right.
Okay, we gotta go.
Yes.
Y'all gotta go.
Right.
We love you guys.
We love you. Thank you.
Thank you for
Thanks for being with us, listening to us, watching us.
Sticking through to the bitter end. Even if you have to go away and come back, because I know a lot of people do that. You're like, oh, I have to go into work now. I have to turn off the podcast. Or, oh, shit, I have to go do something at work. I have to pause the video. I know. But you come back and you watch, and we haven't driven you away completely, so thank you. We love you guys.
We do.
Bye.